Nazi free.
Be the change you wish to see in the world. For the next few minutes, I'm going to pontificate on what that means to me by talking about the various reactions I got on my last video regarding Morning Joe and Black Lives Matter.
Yeah, maraca banjing birizui.
I know, Scully, it's a touchy subject, and I promise I'm going to move on after this video. Now, the first comments I'm going to address are from two of my cousins who called me out on saying that I grew up in a tough neighborhood where getting arrested was like a rite of passage. One of them actually grew up in my neighborhood with me, so he commented, "Hey Notch, what neighborhood do you refer to?" At the bottom of the video. And another cousin of mine called me on the phone after watching the video and said, "Wow, cuz, I didn't realize you grew up in Compton. Do you think you might be exaggerating just a little bit?" So look, let me clarify my statements. I grew up in a lovely neighborhood with palm trees, sunshine, great neighbors, and just a couple of bullies and drug dealers that would move in and out of the neighborhood from time to time. But no, I didn't grow up in a ghetto or let alone in poverty. And I still live in this neighborhood. And ever since I've lived here, my house has been burglarized 4 times. My next door neighbor was burglarized just last year. And not too long ago, some squatters took over one of the foreclosed homes across the street, and before long there was a parade of people coming and going from that house at all hours of the night. And during the day, one of them would sit on the roof, and on a lawn chair no less, just drinking beer and scoping out the neighborhood like they owned the place. And just a couple of nights ago, some punks decided to place bets and have a drag race on the street right outside my window. And at 12 o'clock midnight no less. Thanks, assholes. The point I was trying to make was that I've seen enough crime firsthand. Of course, that doesn't qualify me as a criminologist, but from my experience, crime is rarely committed by people who simply want to feed their families out of a last-ditch hope and desperation. So I hope it makes sense as to why I'm disturbed by the way certain crimes are being reported and excused by people in the media, especially those who don't live in the types of neighborhoods that are directly affected by how they report those crimes. Now, there were other comments which opened my eyes to how people react to my videos. And a few of them were from friends of mine who were really upset. One of them said that I showed no empathy or compassion for poor people being oppressed by systemic racism, and that if I keep making videos like that, he wasn't going to watch them anymore. To him or anyone who feels that way, I'm sorry if I insulted or upset you. That's the last thing I want to do with these videos. I also got the opposite reaction where someone was like, "Yo, I totally hear you, bro. These fucking people need to shut up and stop whining about shit." And I was like, no, that's not what I'm trying to say either. Far from it. There's obviously still a problem with racism in this country, and I think you just proved that. Why can't we all just get along? Which brings me to my last comment. Someone suggested that if I'm going to make videos, instead of just blurting out my opinions, I should provide some solutions. And to that I say, okay, challenge accepted. The solutions I'm about to list are not just addressing the problem of unarmed black men being killed by police officers. They're also addressing the problem of poverty, which contributes to that issue and ultimately affects us all. And these solutions are not just my opinions. They're proposals from experts. And I've linked some articles in the description box down below. This is hardly a definitive list, and I know there are many other approaches and possibilities by actual experts, but nonetheless, here are a few. Solution number 1. Outfitting police officers with body cameras and or providing better training for police officers so they can diffuse situations rather than escalate them. I can speak from experience on this. I know what it's like to have police officers bait me into an argument, but I always kept my mouth shut. I actually beat one cop at his own game by taking him to court and humiliating him in front of the judge, but I'll leave that story for another video. Solution number 2, we need to reform our judicial system. It needs an overhaul in respect to how prosecuting attorneys work, since they're incentivized to win cases as opposed to determining if a defendant is truly innocent until proven guilty, and vice versa with the defense attorneys. And this directly is tied to the next solution, number 3. Addressing the policies that lead to mass incarceration and the school-to-prison pipeline, which I wouldn't say is a conspiracy theory, but it's not an official program either. Our government has its flaws, to be sure, and there's a lot to be desired about the privatization of prisons. But to imply that there's an actual scheme to systematically shuttle poor kids from schools into prisons just to line the pockets of their owners is a bit of a stretch. However, there's ample evidence of the corruption among prison guards and their unions and the political contributions they make to keep the war on drugs going just for job security. Which leads to solution number 4, the need to legalize marijuana.
Cool, let's smoke some weed.
Pinky, I'm trying to talk about some serious issues here, okay?
Ah, get over yourself. Nobody gives a shit what you have to say. They're just watching these videos out of pity. Stupid party pooper.
That's sad but true. You're right, Scully. I'm used to talking to myself anyway, so let me get back on my soapbox. Like I was saying, we need to legalize marijuana and prostitution and decriminalize all other drugs, okay, in order to drive down the distorted value of these products and services whose demand will never die out. Okay? And this is a message for all you limited government fiscal conservatives and Reagan Republicans out there. Stop expanding government by criminalizing mutually consensual activities between the privacy of adults. Solution number 5. We need better schools in poorer neighborhoods so everyone has access to quality education, especially when it comes to economics, personal finance, and career counseling. Most kids get out of school without any truly useful skills or knowledge that will help them compete in the job market. You shouldn't have to have a bachelor's degree from a prestigious college to get ahead in life, let alone be straddled with debt to do so. That's not to say that colleges should be free, since nothing in this life is, but there's an alarmingly prohibitive cost to higher education. Solution number 6. We need better policing services within poorer neighborhoods, which involves a reallocation of local tax dollars that unfortunately a lot of people are against, especially conservatives. Solution number 7. This one's going to anger both liberals and conservatives, but here I go. Discourage single motherhood by promoting Planned Parenthood. I want to stress on discouraging single motherhood, not demonizing it, since there are many women who find themselves in that situation beyond their control. I also want to stress on promoting Planned Parenthood, not funding it through tax dollars, which I don't mind, but many people do, and I respect that. I'm simply talking about planning ahead, such as sex education for teenagers to avoid teen pregnancies, access to birth control, and keeping abortion legal. And last, solution number 8. And yes, this one's totally my opinion. Prioritizing math, science, and logic over religion, superstition, and mindless prayer. Sorry, but I have to opine that religion rots the brain, as evidenced by the latest craze of online exorcisms such as these, which are hilarious, sad, and scary all at once. And they're not scary because of the devil that doesn't exist, but because of the willful ignorance that borders on inexcusable stupidity by people like Pope Francis, who should know better than to promote public exorcisms that feed into these other societal disasters. I know, Scully. Who am I to judge? Now, some of these solutions, especially numbers 1, 5, and 6, do cost money. But what doesn't cost money is promoting the idea of self-responsibility and accountability. That's not only part of the problem regarding poverty and criminality, it's the crux of the problem. The refusal to take at least some responsibility for one's own actions, let alone one's own children, before popping out 3, 4, and 5 kids with 3, 4, and 5 different partners. The absence of a father figure, especially the biological one, is a recipe for dysfunctional families that leads to pointless criminality among teenage boys. Until that issue is properly addressed, all these social injustices and inequities are going to continue to be a vicious cycle. Look, I promise not all of my videos are going to be preachy sociological lectures. I want to make fun videos too about kittens and puppies, mountain biking, showing off my paintings, and playing my guitar and the bongos. I want to be a happy, fun-loving character that you'd want to share a bottle of wine and smoke a joint with. But in order to be the positive change I wish to see in the world, there are some ugly, awkward truths and facts that need to be addressed. And for whatever reason, I'm more than happy to have these awkward conversations, especially in this election year where there's no shortage of sensationalized news stories. Look, I'll be honest, I have no idea what I'm doing with these videos, but I'm having fun doing them, like this one, which I'm going to end right here. Thanks for watching.
Homegrown.